And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WrestlePurists Worldwide. I'm your host, Ibu, of WrestlePurists, of Wrestling Twitter, of the Self-Made Discord. And I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, my prolific co-host, Joe Holbert, of LNG fame, a man of many trades, a man of many projects, a man of many interests. And he's here tonight to discuss our primary interest, which is pro wrestling. Or maybe it's not his primary interest. What do I know? Nevertheless, we're going to talk pro wrestling with you guys. I'd imagine the weekend's action will come up. I have not had an opportunity to talk about Money in the Bank and or WWE/AAA's Worlds Collide show. So I'm sure I will be giving my extended opinions on that at some point today. So beyond that, we will look ahead to AEW Summer Blockbuster show, which is this week's AEW 4-hour television extravaganza on the TBS Superstation. So we'll talk about that and so much more, whatever comes up on Worldwide. Guys, please make sure to like the video. Please make sure to subscribe, WrestlePurists, if you're not subscribed, and send us your super chats because, brother, I have no goddamn format and I have nothing. So this is going to be one of those shows where I will do my best and Joe will do his best to offer as much astute conversation and analysis as possible, but you guys will be driving the ship as you always do. It's a show for the fans, by the fans. So please give us your super chats. Give us any opinions you guys had on the weekend's action, any questions you may have, any thoughts you may have on what's happening this week in pro wrestling, Raw, Dynamite, so on and so forth. But you guys drive the conversation, so feel free to do that tonight. And while you guys are doing that, I will now pass it over to Joe Holbert. Joe, how are you doing today, sir?
We have big heat coming through the curtain tonight because
No.
I don't think you know what happened, but you took long enough that the intro thing looped.
Wow.
And StreamYard's loop is like glitching, so there was a 2-second Holbert solo shot.
You know what's funny? I saw that and I was like, I thought my StreamYard just botched. It just kind of like showed you for a flash. Like
it was very scary.
It's like
very scary.
And it's like it's not the best example, I guess, but it's like when Scott Hall peeks through the curtain in that 2010 indie match he did. You know? A little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the best example, but nonetheless, happy to be here. I do have news, by the way. There's a lot of questions filing out through the week about how we approached Super Chats last week. I have news, and I'm glad to announce that Ibu will be on Super Chat duty tonight because it's my second of 3 shows. So
you
wanted to congratulate you on that. And
yeah,
man, I mean, I don't appreciate you saying I'm going to try my best, but I'm here.
All right. The devil lay in the dust. Oh man, that's you know what that song feels like?
Victory.
Right. There's songs that are like kind of bad but also sick. You know what I mean? Which is a lot of wrestling music, and I feel like that falls under them. You know?
I think so. Maybe I liked their original WWE theme. The second one was very bad.
The one that was like, yeah, we get to conquer and deny.
The first part of that impression was crazy, but yeah, that's the right one.
And then like the latest one, it just sounded like fucking like ass, and it was just sounds, you know, like it's really bad. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of wrestling songs when I think about it where like you can kind of parody this song, you know. It's not good enough to just be real music you listen to on your free time. But it's like also still kind of sick, you know. So
yeah, most of it's bad. I'm not trying to judge anyone, like, but you know when people post their like Spotify things, it's like third on the year. It's just me,
bro. Legitimately, people will post their raps, and it'll say like CFO #2, your #2 artist. And I'm like, what the fuck? These people will wake up.
Crazy, bro.
They just wake up in the morning and they're just listening to fucking. And I'm like, that's a nice song, but like, this is what gets you going, like, you know, on your morning jog, you know, like, it's kind of insane.
I guess, yeah, whoever does it, bro.
I guess so. Whatever floats these people's boat, guys. Again, this is WrestlePurists Worldwide. This is another topicless show. This one isn't Joe's fault; it's actually Monty's fault this week, because he reviewed. He covered everything I was going to cover.
Nah, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We don't do this. I'm not sitting. I'm not sitting in Gorilla and letting you get that off. Not happening. Not happening, bro.
He cut the mics.
I had a whole Falcon Arrow sequence prepared, and Monty was like, no.
He's talking to the referee. Get him off the top rope, brother.
We got rules around here, bro.
Man, can't even sell for it. All right, whatever. Monty ruined the fun chat. I was gonna rib him for a minute, but he killed that. So, nevertheless, I still will be talking about. Thank God, I was hearing myself on the echo. I'll still give my opinions on Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank, I'm sure. But before I do that, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your opinions, your questions, and everything in between. So let's start these super chats that allegedly I have to start and read.
Good idea. Very good idea. Let's do that. Let's start with the super chats.
Right. Just to get you going, get the legs moving, get the blood flowing. Yeah. All right. So Nashut 23 $9.99 ran late stage Muta versus current Randy for the WWE Spinner Strap on 2K. Am now fascinated by this matchup. Thoughts? Drop kick to the knee, stomp on the back. Late stage Muta. It depends what late stage Muta we're talking about, because there's like 3 different late stage Mutas. If we're talking about literally no retirement tour Muta versus Randy, they'd have like a 2 1/4, but the crowd would be very loud.
Yeah, he would like push off the RKO and the Mist, right? That's what he would do.
Yeah.
How would Randy sell the Mist, do you think?
He'd do this like his hands would be towards his face, and he's like kind of whipping his head back side to side. And he's just, oh shit, fuck. Oh. I could visualize Randy doing it, and then you'd get like a maybe. See, there's eras of Randy where he would do a theatrical thing where like he'd open his eyes in an animated way and make this kind of like viper face, like he's like crazed and mad,
Mm-hmm.
And then he would like just do the fucking draping DDT and then fucking the punt and shit. So
what would be the best version of this matchup? Like if we could time machine it, what would be the best? What do you reckon? Like Legend Killer Randy with 90s Muta? What do you think?
So they could do that match and they'd have a 3 3/4 and it'd be very, very athletic and spirited. 91 to 94 KG Muto versus 2004 Randy. A spirited athletic contest, right? If you want to draw some money and have a match with a sick closing stretch, Joseph, you're doing 2001 KG Muto versus 2011 Randy Orton.
That would probably be my favorite by far, I think, actually. Yeah.
That's what I would want to see. I want to see Randy and you can add a no DQ stip to this thing. They fight in the crowd. Randy's going to go for some draping DDTs, you know what I mean? He's going to do those like, that movie does where like your back is on his back and then he like kind of like cracks it. Yeah, he'll do that, a lot of that. But then Muto's going to chip away at him with the fucking drop kicks to the knee and shit, the dragon screws and the
he's limb work selling. Randy's selling of the leg is like genuinely incredible.
Correct. You'd get a spot where Randy goes for the draping DDT. Muto pulls Randy out of that, and they're both on the apron. And then he grabs his leg and dragon screws Randy off the apron, and then Muto gets back on the apron and does that kind of pose that he does, and he'll be like, Dah! And he does the pose and shit. It'd be very exciting. Randy goes for an RKO. Muta gets out of that. Muta backdrop suplexes him, does a moonsault, moves out the way. Randy Orton moves out of the moonsault, RKO, 1-2, kick out, Randy hits the ref bump and shit. Muto does a Shining Wizard, 1-2. There's no ref. What are we doing? Oh my God, what the fuck is going on? It's Tayokea. It's Tayokea. He's here. Tayokea is here. Oh, it's the legacy. What the fuck?
I'm sure you get this a lot, but when you do the Great Muta sound, it sounds a lot like the Fiend sound.
Yeah,
yeah, remember when it would like cut from the Fiend thing? Yeah.
And he would just be like, Bray would just be like, and that is when you have to run. And he's fucking like.
See, if things were different timeline wise, when Bray got released from WWE, like if we're talking about 2003 KG Muto, he would have got him on the first flight, wouldn't he? Can you imagine?
Oh, he would have got him in All Japan, yeah. And also, Randy probably would have just won the world title on his 5th match or 4th.
I do. Randy's probably top of my list in terms of like American wrestlers that I wish existed in a time where everyone worked Japan a little bit,
Yes.
I don't think he'd have been a great fit in Japan, but I'd be intrigued by him. Like you look back at a guy like Ted DiBiase who would just work Everyone worked Japan.
Well, so that's the cool thing about Puro of yesteryear is it wasn't about whether you fit Japan. You just went. It doesn't matter. And right. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know. It just led to a more interesting scene. And I'm not going to bring up the homogenization thing. I did that last year already, and I don't want to ever do that rant. Apparently, according to Montel, Ron Killing Speaks has been added to Raw. So hopefully, I really hope I'm giving this one chance to care about this. And what I mean by that is, if he like cuts like a TNA ass promo, then I'm like, all right, hold on. And if he's just R-Truth, then it's like, all right, cool. Anyway, so I'll say this, Joe. There was a distinct approach and rhythm to how like a lot of Japanese wrestling proceeded that before it got like westernized almost wholesale, I feel is the best way to explain it. It's kind of like how, you know how, Joe, like if you've never watched Lucha and you just watch Lucha, it does take an adjustment.
Yes.
To just how it is, how it's like worked, the rhythm of it, the style of it. And the first 2 or 3 matches you see from Mexico, you legit, it's like a legit culture shock on just how it is proceeded, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And all Japan was westernized, but like someone asked me last night, like, what's the difference between New Japan's way of doing wrestling in the past and all Japan's, for example, and like what actually was strong style. And I was trying to explain to people that like their matches had a very specific, unique rhythm that just wasn't in Western wrestling, you know? But the cool thing about that is in that world with that totally different way of doing wrestling, seeing Westerners come in and just like fit into that was like so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Randy would have went and he would have done pretty well, and Muta would have pushed him because he was a white man with athleticism. And I do think there are a couple versions of that matchup that would be really, really cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nashud. Not Josh Toffee, $9.99. That Grande pitch you made had me hoping for a shock win for the Chaos. Wonder what the direction with Seth is and how long he's going to hold it for. Side note, this was Triple H's worst presser in a while. Well, he's just really bad with the media. So like I'm not surprised by that.
Talking about presses like their matches, this is worse in a while.
Yeah, that was a good one, Hunter. You know, like Sean has 3.5-star media calls. You know, which to be fair to him, he actually does have pretty good media calls. He just kind of like concedes things and goes like, I don't know, man. We're just doing our best, and I find out things like right before you guys find out things, guys. You know, they're like, hey, Sean, did you know about this? And he's like, yeah, they told me like the day of. You know, but yeah, no, look, Hunter. At the end of the day, he believes that apologies or concessions equals weakness. And so he has to look smug and in control. And so in his mind, he probably thought it was so epic to have that prepared response of it's all a part of the show. But truthfully, it just makes you look sillier, you know. And I'm sure you guys already spoke on it yesterday. But if this wasn't intentional work, you guys look like absolute buffoons because it's not a particularly great story if it's a work. It would have been much better, in my opinion, and better PR if you literally made it clear on some level that like the fans using their voice actively allowed a black man to get his job back, which is what happened, and that is something that should be celebrated. Which is why, like, for all the stuff of like, why does it matter if it's a work or not? The truth is, it matters in the sense that like I do think validating the fans here is a cool thing because of what it achieved in this.
Cody nailed it, right? Cody's answer was perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect. Like you didn't need to get into details and say we offered him this. You know, you didn't need to do that. But
yeah,
I thought Cody nailed it. Like our job is to try and give you what you want. Now, like obviously, that kind of answer earns a different type of eye roll, but that's like still a positive answer.
Mm-hmm.
So just do that.
Yeah, I agree. And Rhodes is obviously far better at the media thing than Hunter. He actively embraces it and loves talking to people for interviews. He's a guy, Joe, that like he's been at WWE scrums where like they give the media 4 questions and he finishes and he goes like, and like Byron will be like, thank you, Cody. He's like, no, who else we got here?
Right.
Hey, guy from WrestleZone, come on, what's your question? He loves it. So good for him. He'll be replacing Levesque in 3 years. But thank you, Josh.
That was a joke. Also, Josh did have a question about the direction of Seth. I don't know if you have anything on that before we move.
Direction of Seth. Well, he's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, but that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
Right, but he was saying like how long the briefcase, the belt, that's fine. I
So
just wanted to know
if he doesn't successfully cash in tonight,
Yep.
I actually, you know what? I'll put it to you this way: I think it's either tonight or he just won't successfully cash it in. Regardless, he will be the next world heavyweight champion. The question is,
because he's such a top guy, he can win the belt by the briefcase.
correct. He either cashes in tonight, Joe, which is very possible. It's the main event of this show, or he fails to because Roman Reigns and or CM Punk or whoever fuck him over, and he just finds his way back to the belt in a different way. It does look to be an interesting Raw tonight. They're going in a couple of different directions for certain guys, and I guess if you don't want a spoiler, even though it's been out all day, you can cover your ears for 10 seconds. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to cover your ears. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This show is opening up, Joe, with a CM Punk and John Cena interaction.
Yeah.
So is that a tease? Is that a hint? Is that one of those we give you a glimpse of a match you're doing later? Or is this straight up, this is our SummerSlam match and we're kickstarting the build now? So that'll be yet to be determined. We shall see. But it is interesting. It is very interesting. Corey Hayes of Body Slam and PWN said that LA Knight and Seth Rollins are going to start a program tonight. That'll be for Saudi. So I don't know what that's about, but there's a couple new directions on this show. And I wonder what's the cause of it. I almost suspect, Joe, because this show and last week's Friday TV, they basically said, fuck the brand split. And this next month of TV, they're doing King of the Ring, which is going to be wrestling-oriented TV. And it appears that there's going to be guys from different shows on both shows. And I wonder personally if they looked at the ratings and said, all right, let's kind of give this some juice. Like maybe there's just not enough interest in some of the TV. Let's kind of reshuffle some of the angles that we're doing. I wonder. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but certainly if indeed Cena and Punk are going to share the ring tonight for a promo, that is a very important segment, I think, for this Cena reign and Cena, retirement tour. That needs to be good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's very important also for the welfare of Cena's fan base who are clinging on to hope. I think the prospect of CM Punk as an opponent is the North Star for these people. And I've been very hesitant to kind of get to that. In fact, I remember I saw some guy tweet the other day, Joe. They're like, enough of Punk and Rollins, man. Can we just get to Punk and Cena? And as a CM Punk fan, Joe, I literally said, brother, I'm having a nice, safe, steady time over here. Let's not rush to that, which I know, because I know with the Punk versus Seth Alliance stuff, Joe, I'm getting safe and steady television that's reliable and will get heat, right?
Yeah.
In this lane, it's more dangerous, Joe. It's unpredictable in a scary way. I'm gonna lose sleep over these segments. I don't know.
Yeah, but you sound a bit like a coward, to be honest. I mean, you gotta roll the dice sometimes,
Yeah, I'm being a total pussy, Joe. Give me my 7.75 out of 10 TV, all right? Where I can just give me that. This CM Punk John Cena thing, this segment tonight could be excellent. Maybe John Cena just something awakens in him and they have an incredible verbal interaction. There's also a chance, Joe, that he just does the shtick that he's been doing, and Punk just kind of goes, "Hey, what you're doing is dumb," and then Cena's just like, "You get nothing," and it's just like it's rote and bad. And if that happens, I'm gonna wake up in a cold sweat. So
do you think Punk is gonna do? Do you think he's gonna do one of those Vince references where he goes like,
"Yes,
yeah."
Yes.
The guy who used to run this place was a big fan of yours, John, and Cena kind of looks both ways,
You know who's the only person keeping the Dwayne element of this entire angle alive, Joe?
It's Punk, right?
Yeah. Every Punk promo, he's just like, listen, I don't deal with guys like that bald fraud asshole Dwayne Johnson or that other dickhead John Cena. And I'm like, but everyone else is just giving it up. You know what I mean? And Punk's like, that fucking asshole Dwayne,
Punk like yelling at Cena about WrestleMania 28, and it cuts to a 12-year-old kid in the crowd who's just like, no clue, no idea.
Punk's just like, when I was the best guy in this company, I sat behind you and Rock. Da, 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 da. And people are just like, I came on with TikTok and mommy,
Yeah.
It is funny though. Like, there's so many new fans now that Joe, even in some respects, Rusev is like, who's this old guy? And what's he all about?
Has he done anything yet?
Yeah, he's done like angles with Sheamus. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's done. The funny thing about it is like, but you know what it feels like though, Joe? This is gonna sound weird. It feels 2022 AEW. And what I mean about this is,
I'm just kidding. Go for it.
it feels like two guys that I respect that are telling a story that like they themselves really care about, right? And it's dense with lore personal to them, right? And they're just getting Rain to just tell it on TV in their way. And like the audience, like half of them don't know what they're talking about, and the other half don't care. But like the match will be good at the end of this. What I mean by that, Joe, is like they're literally bringing up things about like FCW and League of Nations, and like Rusev and Sheamus basically like blaming Rusev for why he failed in both this company and the other place. And Miro talking about how like you were like my big brother, and you abandoning me years ago was what led me to spiral personally and professionally. And they're doing all that stuff, right? And like I'm just sitting there wondering, like, does 12-year-old Tommy who likes Roman, does he know what they're even talking about?
Well, as you describe this, the Rampage match graphic is like appearing in my
right. You know what I'm saying? Like, just doesn't it? You know what AEW just do that? Like just two good pros, two vets that just they're like, Tony, we really want to tell this story, and he's like, go ahead, man. And like.
Yeah. I can hear Mark Henry hitting the "it's time for the main event."
Joe, it's a split screen, right? And Sheamus is like, "Oh, just cut your bleeding ears off him, like, oh, come on, mate. What are you going on about this thing?" And then Miro just being like, "Tonight, Sheamus, I end you." And it's, well, there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event. And you heard about it in the Observer because Dave reported that, like, I heard there was a 3 3/4 star match between Miro and Sheamus on Rampage. These guys did a really good job.
I'll say this: for all the jokes, when that match actually happens, I'll be tuned in because
it's gonna be very good. Like it's absolutely gonna be a 17-minute Raw on Netflix match where they just beat the shit out of each other.
17 sounds optimistic, but yes, I agree.
No, Joe. In the post releases, Hunter's back to doing long matches on TV.
17 minutes?
Are you forgetting how long AJ and Finn went?
It wasn't 17 minutes, was it?
It was 20. It was like 20.
Cool, blimey. But he loves, Finn Balor, though, isn't it? NXT champ. Finn, it gets you through it, no Finn. I reckon I could wrestle Finn Balor for 20 minutes. We'd get through it. It wouldn't be any good, but let's be clear. Hang on a second, Montel. Let's be clear. Montel's about Jimmy Uso. SmackDown is a different world, all right?
It is.
Candice LeRae's done 60-minute Broadways on SmackDown. That's a different...
Joe, SmackDown is 70s All Japan when it comes to these match times.
You put that aside. That's a different. That show operates on a time frame we've never experienced before in history of humanity. There's something going on Fridays. People need to study it. I'm not saying you should watch it, but you should study it, man. There's something going on. You watch that show, time will change around you. It's crazy.
Kale said Jim went to quarter hour last week. He literally did. Like literally went to quarter hour. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Against
Jeff Cobb.
I'm gonna say this. I want everyone to pay attention to how Jeff Cobb is used specifically on shows where Paul Heyman is there at the building. Just keep an eye on that.
Come on, bro. He's trying. At least he's got his singlet back.
He did.
It was look. I don't know anything what you're referencing. What I say as someone who watches the show sometimes, his presentation at the pay-per-view was psychotic, dude. Like he came out and just got the absolute hell beat out of him by Bron Breakker without any he didn't even cut him off or anything unless I missed it. Bron just beat the hell out of him. I was like, oh, fair enough.
Just imagine, Joe. Everyone's in the back, right? Paul's like, so we're gonna break this thing down. And then Jacob will come out with the other guy. And then my guys will come out. And then Jake was like, yeah, I'm a fucking super kick this nigga and then I'll do this. Da, 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 da. JC's like, yeah, and then maybe I'll. And Heyman's like, shut the fuck up. Anyway, so Braun is going to spear him. And then he's going to.
What's crazy is, mid-2010s, Jeff Cobb feels like a guy that Heyman would have
loved
crazy for in ECW.
Yeah.
Would have presented him as the best athlete in wrestling.
Joe, when I first saw Jeff Cobb, I literally said, this feels like the love child of Rhino and Taz.
Yeah, he would be such a Paul Eve grappler. I guess, I don't know, but I think Paul, my theory has always been that Paul's kind of spooked by the older fellas because I think Paul's
Mhm.
way of working with talent is he convinces them he's their dad, and that's like what he does. So
Yes.
sees old, he sees older blokes. He goes, well, maybe not.
It's funny because even Damian Priest admit, like I've spoken on it a lot on the Raw reviews, but like Priest mentioned it on his documentary, like on the Peacock. I don't know if you've seen that, Joe, but he was like, "You know, what helped me a lot at TV. Paul Heyman really helped me find my voice." And I'm like, "You're 40, man. You know."
But he had a weird career, right?
He did.
Like
He did. Yeah.
he emerged as what Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor, and I remember, and this is a credit to him. I'm not saying this to be a prick, but like I remember watching his Punishment Martinez and thinking he was like terrible. And
Yeah.
I think he's a really good wrestler. Like I actually think Damian Priest he's a great example of like it clicks for guys at different parts of their career, you know. So
It's crazy because I thought he sucked in Ring of Honor. Then I saw the Archer of Infamy in NXT, and I said, "This guy's all right. He's okay." Then he got called up. I was like, "Nah, he sucks again." Literally, like he called us again. He stinks again. And then he's in the Judgment Day. I'm like, I think he still stinks. And then like slowly, like Levesque just was so relentless. You know, it's just 24/7 propaganda of like he's good, he's good, he's good, he's good, he's good, he's good. I'm like, all right, man, he's pretty good, I guess.
he's a good wrestler. He is a good wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had this super chat on the screen the whole time.
Yeah, my bad, Ish. Ish 999. Speaking of Randy, where is he now? Like, is he just chilling or what? SmackDown needs him, in my opinion. Brother, Randy Orton is having himself a margarita on an island. If you asked Randy Orton what's happening on SmackDown right now, he would have no clue. If you said the name JC Mateo to you, he'd be like, who the fuck is that?
No, I reckon he's one of those fellas who sees the gifts and that, you know.
He definitely follows his own product through scrolling Instagram occasionally.
Yeah,
like
he's in group chats where the gifts get sent and he buries them, I feel.
Joe, you know, I'll just say it. Do you think, Joe, that CM Punk watches WWF television that he's not on?
No, but I think he keeps like an idea of what's going on with the people he likes so that he can put it over on Instagram.
It's a fascinating.
It's a tactical thing, isn't it? You know,
you'll see him on his Instagram like reshare like a SmackDown clip of like, I don't know, Rey Mysterio doing a dive or something, and he's just kind of like with like clap emojis, you know.
The one that popped me was it's just so in the weeds. Fuck. He posted like the match graphic for the Money in the Bank match, the women's Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
His caption was like, "What a lineup!" And I, for whatever reason, I just popped like it felt like a mandatory. Not that he was right, but it just felt like a mandatory post. You know, like I want to make it clear that I fuck with this crew, man. This is a good squad, right?
No other post of that of the show. There's no legitimate evidence that he's watched Money in the Bank, which is godly.
The other one he does that pops me is who is the talent agency that just signed Mariah? They signed Alexa before.
Paradigm.
Yeah, because Paragon is Mojo's group, right?
Yes.
Paradigm is them. Yeah. So like, he did this when Alexa signed, and like you and I were joking about it, but he did it again, Mariah. When they announced the signing, he'll just comment like the applause. I don't know why, but it pops me because it like frames him in my mind as though he's like an executive there, you know?
Yeah,
like
he's like,
welcome aboard, Mariah.
Welcome.
You know?
And here's another funny one. Joe, he just went and he went disguised at Worlds Collide to just watch it. And he just kind of left after that. I was like, all right.
Oh, I don't blame him. Fair enough. Yeah. The stupidest thing about all of this is all he literally is doing is posting an applause thing, but it just pops. I don't know. It's just the idea of him doing it.
Because you know what it is. You know? It's tactical posting. It's tactical posting.
He does strike me as a tactical poster, yes.
King AO in the chat says Office Phil. Oh, well, you know.
Give it to him.
Hey, man. Listen, the best stuff happening in the WWF today it's when people get shit done in the back, you know. So
of course, right. You can't rely on the wrestling booker, you know.
No, Paul Levesque is lobotomized right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ish.
Why did I agree to that on the air? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was so beast. When you did that, I fist something. I was like, oh, let's go.
I just hit it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Vernacular 999. We're done with the Cena doomerism, are we? I sincerely believe Punk can pull anything out of John right now, if he really cares to. If he doesn't, I'm genuinely taking a break. Let me know. Truth running. I'll tell you this about Cena. The only live interaction that was kind of entertaining was the one where he went worky shooty with Cody, like the third one, right? And I do think Punk probably will pull him in that direction. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, he was just doing the whole like, I'm a winner and you're losers and you're bad and you people and blah, 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 blah. I do think Punk is just going to be like, what the fuck is this weird bitch shit you're doing? And like, I think Punk's probably like, honestly, I think Punk's direction and route of attack tonight, I think he's literally just going to point out that his retirement tour sucked. And there's going to be people that clip that and go like, oh, shit, he went there. He said it. Whoa, you know? And in a weird way, Joe, that does take you back to your 2011 dynamic. Because the old dynamic was Punk going, this guy sucks, right? And people are like, yes, thank you. Someone said it. Someone on the show said that he sucks. And in a weird roundabout way now, 14 years later, Punk is now in position to be able to get that off, and it's not a weird dynamic as it would have been maybe months ago, where Punk can just go, hey guys, this guy sucks, right? And people are like, yes, he fucking does. You know, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Joe's like, I guess whatever, you know.
Yeah, maybe. It could work. I get what you're saying. It's a shame that's like the correct route of attack, to be honest. But
like, I mean, in a perfect world, it's just about these two vets, legends in the business who've done so much and traveled up and down the roads and blah, 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 blah. Hilariously, you know who they told that story with, and I never fully believed it, but it was pretty decent. How much of the Cena Edge 09 build did you see in the Backlash 09 build?
None.
So they reheated the feud that they had in 06, Joe. And it was funny because, like, I don't want to say the premise was a lie, but even at that time, I always felt like they framed our dynamic as more like storied and legendary than maybe it really was. And so, like, Edge would cut these promos where he's just like, I'm beat up, John. You're beat up. I'm tired, John. You're tired. We've been doing this thing for years, John. Me and you, up and down these roads, your hometown, my hometown, you attacking my girlfriend, me attacking your father. We've been doing this for years, John. We are tired. It has been years of this, John. And I just want to end it because I hate you. And I've hated you for years. And it's a lot of that. And like Edge is talking about like the bumps, the bruises. I wake up every morning. I remember every move you did to me, everything you did to me, every fucking table spot, ladder thing, da da da. Like, he's doing that whole story. And John was kind of like, and it was like this battle. It's like two old withered foes, battle weary, who've done this for a long time, ready to put it to rest. And I love that type of wrestling story in general and framework. Yeah. It just always made me laugh that like they told it with Edge and Cena. Not that is a bad program, because that's a good program, but it's just like funny to me, you know. But yeah.
I'll say this though. I mean, there is definitely a generation. Like I have friends that to them Edge is like the heel for their era. You know.
Yeah.
It's something to be said for it. It definitely worked.
Yeah, it did. Hilariously, Joe. And then a year later, they did something similar, where Batista was like, "It's me and you, John. We are the two biggest stars in this industry after the Attitude Era. Me and you." And I'm like, I mean, you guys are talking in front of 6,000 people right now, but you know, yeah.
It's like the I mean, it's not quite the same because I'm sure the delivery is different. What you said about Edge and Cena, it's like the Oli Dusty, it will never be over between. You know, it's that kind of vibe, isn't it? Like they're going to be rivals to the grave. Yeah.
It is a good, the promo I'm referencing with Edge and Cena. It's a very good promo. You never seen the "I hate you" promo?
No.
Wow. Yeah. So Edge says his go home line, or his seemingly go home line, and Cena walks off, right? Because Cena didn't have a rebuttal for him, Joe. It was kind of powerful.
It sounds very good. It sounds very, very good.
He walks away like he just had nothing to say left to Edge. And Edge like felt like unfulfilled by the fact that he didn't engage with him. And so he cuts him off and goes, "I hate you." Like Edge just says that to John. And John like turns back and is like, "Okay." And continues. He's like, I hate you. I hate everything you stand for. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shirt. I hate the colors. I hate the pandering. I hate that. I hate you, Cena. When I wake up in the morning, I resent the fact that I work in a company with you. And then like John gets back in the ring and he like takes off his fucking shirt. He takes the wristband off. He takes the fucking hat off. He's like, "You don't like my hat? You don't like my damn t-shirt? You don't like this? You don't like that?" And he was like, "That don't stop that." You know when John will get fired, he's like, "That don't stop that." He's like beating his chest and shit. He had the dog tag on and he's like challenging him to punch him in the face. It's a great angle.
I don't know if I've seen 2009 WWE, so I just don't think I've seen it all.
Did you know that SmackDown won Best Weekly Show?
That's actually, yes, because I've seen like some summer 2009 SmackDown. I've seen some of that stuff, yes. Because that's when Punk emerges as a heel, right?
Correct. And
yeah, I've seen that stuff. And Ziggler starts like emerging in the mid card. Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff. I'll tell a lie. Yeah.
They did the draft and they moved Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho to SmackDown.
That's
and
right.
I'll never forget. I was watching this episode live, and Jericho came out and he was like, "The ropes could change from red to blue. This can be this tonight. It's like, it's all the same, and you guys are still obsequious, gelatinous, parasitic drones." That was his phrase. You are all still obsequious, gelatinous, parasitic drones. And I wrote that down because I learned like 5 new words in the same time. But yeah, that was a good period for that show, and Raw was like abysmal.
Who was booking SmackDown? Was that a Michael Hayes thing?
Probably. It was a very good show. They briefly brought back the world's greatest tag team. CM Punk, they did a program with him in Umaga. Umaga spoke for the first time, but then Umaga unfortunately got released.
Wait, in 2009, they brought back the world's greatest tag team.
Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
That would have been their third comeback or second comeback, third run, right?
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
Jesus.
Had a couple tags on TV. John Morrison got a singles push. Jim Ross finally woke up. Like he you know what I'll never forget? He used to have this, like, he would like write on his website, I believe it was.
Yeah. And
I remember reading it because he would just bury like Raw. He'd be like,
the Ross Report, brother.
Yeah. I remember I would read it. He'd be like, another inspired effort on Friday Night SmackDown from this young roster. And he'd be like, I'm so proud of these young men. Jim, and he would just gush about fucking John Morrison and how awesome John Morrison is and shit. And he'd talk about Shelton Benjamin like he was a young athlete with a lot of promise. And I
remember
what's up?
When Morrison was working with Dolph for the IC strap, I remember JR's big thing was like Hennig and Rude. Do you remember that was his thing? I've seen that stuff.
I don't remember, but that's so funny. And that sounds accurate. He loved it. He like woke back. Like, clearly he thought the show was shoot good again, basically. And like would gush about it. And he would literally talk to him. He'd be like, he said they're doing Randy and Batista again on Raw. Not the best stuff. Was a lifeless show. He would literally just bury the show on his website.
I mean, what they're gonna do? Bury him on TV? They do it to him every week, you know. Like
exactly.
He had nothing to lose by that point. They're already embarrassed him on TV for years. So
I think he was just like, all right, fuck it, I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'll say this though, Raw got to a point by the end of 2009 where I was like, I think I'm just done with this company because Edge got hurt and Jeff Hardy was gone. And SmackDown started to lose a bit of steam by the end of the year. And Raw was just like abysmal. And I was like, man, what's going on with WWE? So
it really speaks to the brilliance of Vince McMahon that for much of his regime, the shows were actively better when he was less involved in them, you know?
Every single time.
Yeah, a real genius in that regard. Like, he would just not involve himself at all when shows would get good. And then they would get so good that he would involve himself and they would get worse. Brilliant stuff.
The SmackDown 6 era ends with Vince McMahon transplanting himself in a feud with Mr. America Hulk Hogan.
Of course it does. It happens so many times.
Yes.
There are so many people that have just worked on creative through the years as part of 40-man teams that if you just give them 2 hours of wrestling time, like time on TV with a wrestling roster, they would do a better show than that was, you know, like, and SmackDown was proof of that. Like, you know, Michael Hayes, obviously, there's elements to Michael Hayes we all just don't like, and I'm not here to co-sign him as a person, but he's an example of that. Like, he just worked there for all those years. But anytime they just gave someone like him the book for SmackDown, it would get better. Just because he was a wrestling booker, you know? Like,
yes. And people were getting elevated naturally, and I mean Jeff Hardy got organically over. The other funny thing about SmackDown is part of what helped them in 2009 is Triple H left the brand. And like magically the show was a better show.
I mean, the one that was hilarious in the late 2010s, maybe the most extreme example in terms of something Vince didn't care about, was when they gave Pierce, it seemed like it was Adam Pearce, I don't know for sure, I'm pretty sure it was though, but they gave him 205 Live. And like, that show legitimately felt like it wasn't a WWE show. I felt like they could not care, they could not possibly care less about that show's existence, you know?
Yes.
And it got really good as a result of that.
Hilarious.
Who knew?
And not that Paul Levesque is Vince McMahon, but there's something to be said sometimes about a new voice and a new vibe in certain pockets of your product and how that affects things. Because, Joe, I don't know if you heard, Worlds Collide was a Jeremy Borash production.
Yeah. In
terms of direction, the layout of the show, how it was structured, how it was booked. It's a Jeremy Borash production. And Jeremy Borash is a great wrestling mind. He's been around for a long, long time. And I'm watching that show, and the most refreshing thing about it was that it it just felt different. It just felt different. And that's how people felt about NXT at the time when Black and Gold was existing, and I am pro steady, reliable, creative minds being handed parts of a gigantic super company to do what they have to do. I think we should embrace that a little bit more. Not to litigate a Ring of Honor conversation, but like I always thought, like, why don't you give like one of the many people back there that like know a thing or two, just give them that and then let them just kind of like let it be their baby and then see what happens,
I agree. I haven't seen Worlds Collide yet. I will be watching the main event on LNG this week, but it did pop me to see people being like, I'm not knocking this because I saw like you said it and people that I respect a lot said it, but it was like, this feels like a wrestling show. And then what came from that was there was this take of like, I liked this show more because it felt like a wrestling show. And I'm not saying that's incorrect because I saw enough clips of it to understand that it looks like a wrestling show. It just, I guess it was funny to me, the idea that was like a statement worth making and what that says about the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. But I do think it is worth stating though, in the sense that I think people because people will watch like modern WWE and like especially the pay-per-views, right? And how they're paced and like the things that happen in between. And I feel like sometimes people fail to understand what certain people's disconnect with the promotion. Because I'll see WWE fans get like offended sometimes when people are like, I just can't watch this, man. It's just not my thing. And like, to each their own. To me, it's like there is a veneer there that like maybe if all you're used to is that, you don't even notice it anymore. And sometimes I kind of like you just get used to it, right? But the truth is like there is a difference. And ultimately, like I think professional wrestling is better when it's as close as possible to just being professional wrestling. And the reason why I made the statement, Joe, is because I don't know if you knew, the show opened up with a bunch of executives in the ring alongside like all these retired luchadors like Blue Demon and shit. And there's flags in the ring and we're getting anthems, and there's flags, and then you're seeing the officials. And in between the matches, Joe, you didn't get there were no commercials, there were no ads at all. There were no like recaps of anything. There was no raw clips of anything. It was literally just you get a match, you'd get an interview with a cool interview backdrop, and in between those things, you got like video packages explaining the history of AAA. And they didn't do like one big super package before one of the matches. It was slowly dispersed in between every single match. Like they'd be like, this is who Negro Casas is and what da da da. This is how they got AAA off the ground. This is how Worlds Collide came to be. This is how Ray Jr. got discovered. Blah 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 blah. And the way that was all flowed and like was presented was just very comfortable to sit, and the show was like,
sorry, mate, go for it.
No, that was it. Yeah.
I just, before I go any further on this, I want to say that I think the creative in the last couple of years in WWE has been considerably better than it was
absolutely
for much of the 20 years that came before that. I want to be clear in this about that. But you were just talking about like late 2000s WWE, which is not a time that I think creatively is particularly strong, and is certainly a time that lacks like a vision and identity, I think. However, you will sometimes watch a wrestling match from that time. Sometimes. And it is hard not to notice how much more glossy, I should say, that it is now than it was then. And what's striking about that is because you would not cite 2008 WWE as being sort of gritty professional wrestling action.
Not at all.
But because it like has gone further and further that way, you can watch like a Punk TV match from 2009. And it legitimately, to me anyway, it might not be to you, like everyone's different, but to me, it is actually glaring, the difference in like the way it feels and the way it sounds and looks and lands. I don't know. It's just, that gloss is hard to get through, I think, sometimes.
I agree. I'll say this. When WWE went HD, there is less of a difference to me personally, but it's still there. I think, I'll say this though about the actual wrestling. I struggle with WWE's like literal just wrestling in the late 2000s, because I noticed that at the time, Joe, they banned like a zillion moves in like the mid 2000s, and beyond that, more people came in working like that kind of OVW FCW house style. And I remember being a kid being like, man, like your average fucking like Paul Burchill match is so much like lamer and less interesting than like when I pop in TNA and watch Chris Sabin. And that's not me saying like inherently just like the independent Ring of Honor style is just automatically better than like a traditional basic American style. But like I do struggle with like a
It was very
2007.
dry. Yeah. But
Yeah, there's a and here's the thing, the pay-per-views overcame this sometimes either through plunder or gimmick, or guys like Shawn Michaels knew how to just maximize drama in this pretty cookie cutter match formula, if that makes any sense.
mhm.
And so like within that scope of how they approached wrestling, Cena was like a master at it, and Shawn Michaels was great at it as well, and a couple other guys. But like, who would be a good example? Like,
I agree, but
yeah,
I still think both things would be true. I think it was
yeah,
very
no,
dry,
yeah,
but I also think there was like an emphasis on just mechanics and fundamentals that like I do miss now on WWE TV.
yes, for sure. Ideally, you'd get a mix of both things.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Because
Like, we want to have someone like Io Sky, producing fireworks, but it was nice to have guys that just like Fit Finley is a great example, right? Like
yeah, yes,
he would have long matches on TV, and like he would completely change the house style for that 15 minutes.
yeah. So that's a great point, Joe. Because like, look, Mr. Kennedy and MVP are not gonna do what Chad Gable is doing with AJ Styles tonight, and that's not even the best example because they are going to lock up. But like, Mr. Kennedy and MVP would lock up in their match, and they're gonna go through the basics and have a normal shine heat comeback, all that, the works. They're gonna have a match that, whoever you want to say, Rip Rogers, Terry Taylor, whoever would approve of because it adheres to the basic tenets of professional wrestling and not just a bombastic condensed firework on Netflix where you're just trying to get like the big moves out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's different, and there's positives and negatives, but I think undeniably, and I think we're both in agreement of this, is like I said, there's just that gloss and that sheen that is just very difficult. I'm really glad at Money in the Bank that they turned off those dot lights on the seats because that thing was driving me nuts. Like those lights on the seats. I
Oh,
can't.
it's horrible, dude. I was looking for the house show. I was looking for like a thumbnail photo,
Right.
and all of the .com photos have the lights like Christmas tree.
Oh my dude, it's insane. Yeah. I
It is.
Raw on Netflix visually was like a fever dream to me. Like that thing, like I remember people talking about, oh my god, this looks so high tech, it looks so good, it looks so good. I'm like, this is abhorrent. Like it looked like Uncanny Valley to me. Like it was like 1984, like it was Orwellian to me. Just this like weird, just this weird high tech. Wrestling doesn't need to look like that. It's not a light show. Just do wrestling. You know what I mean?
The Netflix premiere was like, we'll see how history, how things evolve. But it in that week felt like a moment in time, fair or unfair,
Yeah.
dramatic or not. Watching that show did feel like a moment for a portion of the fan base that went, hold on, I'm not sure I like it here. It felt like that. And again, I have no evidence that being the case. I don't know. It felt that way. We'll see how history kind of evolves.
I think how people feel about that show is a litmus test. I've talked to people that like WWE and in truth, I enjoy a lot of what's happening in the product now. But like I'll talk to people that like the product, and they'll be like, "No, the Netflix show was good." And I'm like, I don't know, man. We just see this differently. If you thought the Netflix premiere was like a good show, like we just see it differently.
Yeah.
So and one last thing on this, because I tweeted out, Joe, like 10 to 15 minutes into Worlds Collide. I said, I just like the way this looks and sounds. And so I think I might give this a 9 on Cage Match. And someone was like, so you're just a visual and presentation merchant and crowd
Yes.
merchant? And I said, yes. I said, in my current age, if I like the way the show looks, like literally looks, and how it's presented and how it flows and the people are making noise, it is a good wrestling show that I can sit and watch the entirety of. Point blank, period. And I was saying this, Joe, 5 minutes in Worlds Collide, I was like, I like this show. And I said that while also thinking in my head, I don't give a shit how good these matches are. Because I knew in my head, I'm like, none of them are going to be a disaster. They're all going to be anywhere from safely decent to like very good. And so whether it's the floor of 3 or the ceiling of 4 really doesn't matter to me. If I like how this show looks and sounds and how it is progressing. So that's me on that.
Tremendous. That was a hilarious segment. I don't even know what fueled that. But KM Raiders super chat is here. Go for it.
Right. KM Raider 499. We want Vinci. Also, really hoping the quality of pay-per-views goes up this summer. TV's been getting better. Yeah. They're gonna. There is an emphasis on in-ring quality for the next month of television. So for whatever that's worth, but yeah, we'll just see. We shall see. We'll see how this King of the Ring thing shakes out. Obviously, 4-way first round matches isn't like the most ideal thing in the world, but it is fair to note that last year when they did do the King of the Ring tournament, that it did lead to an increasing television quality. So we'll see how it works this year. And I'll tell you what, them rolling this out right after Money in the Bank, I feel like to me, Joe, it just reinforced how much Paul doesn't actually care for the Money in the Bank concept. Because he was like, all right, that'll be for Seth. He'll probably burn it off tonight. But folks, King of the Ring this month, winners get title shots at SummerSlam. So I don't know. If it was me, man, I'd just move Money in the Bank to Mania, and I'd make King of the Ring a big 5 pay-per-view right in the middle of June or something. But that's just me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Ryan Cicchini, $6.99 Canadian. Love LA Knight, but people got to be realistic. He has solid TV matches, good pay-per-view performer, mid-card little guy. Oh, I thought I said little guy. I was about to say, come on, man. Mid-card title guy. A believable opponent for the upper card. Do you have any take on this, Joe Holbert?
That's a crazy super chat, Ryan. It's crazy.
A little bit.
Firstly, like, I'm not an anti-Jey Uso guy, but like, he's the world champion. So I don't know how you would decipher like what he does that LA Knight cannot do. We also talked a lot about Damian Priest earlier, who like I said I think he's a good pro wrestler, but I don't know if you could say that he like at his height was more popular than LA Knight has been, and they give him a huge shove by comparison.
Right.
I also just don't agree with people got to be realistic. I think people should be wrestling fans, bro.
Yeah, look, man.
If you like LA Knight, right? Just you can say you want,
You're allowed to be in hell at like his creative prospects. Joe, I've touched on this a little bit before, like on past Holbert House shows, which this show is increasingly beginning to feel like, and I kind of like it. But I as a kid, for whatever reason, I guess this applies to the sports teams too, because all my favorite teams stunk when I was a kid, except the Giants. But in wrestling, I just gravitated towards a lot of guys that Vince didn't particularly push. And I always just hope like this is the year where he wins a world title. I was the guy, Joe, clamoring for Tajiri to win a championship. And I wanted Tajiri to get pushed, and it didn't happen. I wanted R-Truth to get the title in like 2008. Didn't happen. Never was going to happen. I just rooted for guys like that. And imagine the guy telling me back when I was like 14, hey, man, just be happy with where R-Truth is, man. Like
Yeah, that's the problem with everyone being in the same, like, everyone's talking to each other. That's the problem with it, dude. That's like everyone's on the same timeline.
Yeah.
It's like someone who runs an LA Knight fan account. Like, I shouldn't be like, hey, man, be realistic. Like, let him just be a wrestling fan. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's where the shit, like the Discord stuff gets out. It's like, if I see a tweet from like a Karrion Kross stan, I may roll my eyes at it and be like, I think Karrion Kross sucks, but he's just being a wrestling fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to DM him and go, bro, be realistic. 2 3/4. You know what I'm saying? So,
I tweeted today. I said Mike Santana is going to win a world title in WWE. And as you might think that's insane. I legitimately believe this, and I have my reasons for it. But I tweeted that, and people like looked at me like, "Are you insane? What are you talking about?
Right?
Like, oh, are you out of your mind?"
Just crazy shit happens, bro. If you said like again, we talked about Priest earlier. If you just said that about him,
that's what I'm saying.
He'd thought you correct, but like, and let me be clear, I like Jey Uso. I'm like probably the highest person on this entire platform about Jey. Right? How many times have we done this conversation? I like Jey. I like Damian Priest too. I'm not pulling them down to prop LA Knight up. I think if LA Knight has solid TV matches, is a good pay-per-view performer, and is over, why is he a mid-card title guy?
Right.
Like, why does he have to be? I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I'm saying, why does he have to be?
Why can't he just get a couple occasional pay-per-view title challenges, So,
and to be clear, I think his role is like pretty fair, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's about where I would have him personally.
Same.
Yeah.
But the recipe of good TV wrestler, good pay-per-view wrestler, like, why would that then imply he can't be a top guy? You know what I'm saying? If he's over and he does those things and he can talk, you can see why someone could very fairly go, LA Knight should be a little bit higher. And I do think even though I think his role is about right, I do think his usage is sucked in terms of the bloodline stuff, where he just gets beaten like a drum by those guys, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He literally himself will actively kind of like take the piss out of it in his promos now when he'll like make a joke about like how he's just in a loop with these people. I'm going to slightly contradict myself though and say this.
Oh.
I want people to take notice of like what Chad Gable was able to produce on Saturday, finally getting the main event of pay-per-view and then having a ladder match later. And keep that in mind when you're advocating for certain guys to get the ball. What I'm actually saying here is like, can we like root for good wrestlers? You know, it's not me saying.
I get what you're saying, but it's the challenge with that is like when is Gable going to get his reward for that? You know, it's
you know what? I'll tell you what. Who do you think's going over tonight in the AJ Gable singles?
Oh,
match?
Gable.
You think so? You think so?
Yeah. No, I think Gable is getting a push. What I'm getting at is,
I don't know.
It's like been a couple years of the Gable conversation. You know what I'm saying? No, I agree with you. Mean, good wrestler to you and I is different to like, you know, anyone out there watching, right? It's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah. For me, it's just like people sometimes will advocate for certain guys, and in my head, I'm like, have you visualized what that would look like if they put him on a premium live event in a major spot? You know, it's like
they haven't because they're just fans. You know.
Yeah.
This is again. See, we're doing a podcast right now. We're deeply unwell.
Right.
We consider what someone looks like on a pay-per-view. What's wrong with us? You know, the guy who wants Pete Dunne to win the strap, he ain't sitting there going, how would that match with Rollins look? He just go, I want to see him win it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, but we're all like among each other, you know? Like if you're watching this, you're probably in our camp. You're probably insane.
Joe, when I was 12, I wanted Mr. Kennedy to be the WWE champion.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, I like seeing him on TV and I like when he talks. And like I watched back his big matches on back now, like his stuff with Undertaker and Batista, and I'm like, he probably would have been really bad in a major spot on these pay-per-views.
He would have been, yeah. But
like
you know, that wasn't your job to worry about, right? Like
at age 12, no, it was not.
It's just, again, I know that's like a stupid way to do shows, but that is the reality of it. Like there are wrestlers that go over huge, and I will never understand it, but they go over. So at that point, like that, you know, they figured it out in that regard. So wrestling's a weird beast, is my point here.
Right. Austin Kinkle, $5. Same people who were saying this Truth thing was always a worker, the same ones who said Dave was wrong about Rock not being at Mania Joan Co. It's a sad group of people that at this point I think overlap with election deniers and even more unfortunate groupings that I won't say on the air. So I'm not going to give them a lot of airtime, but I think it's pretty fair, pretty clear at this point that it's not a work, and it was said as much and suggested as much by Ron Killings himself and his son. So shout out
to because for Ron, you know, like you don't want to imply this will work because you've had real conversations with people about being let go.
Exactly. Exactly. So he's looking at it like, man, I don't give a fuck if Levesque gets mad at this. I'm gonna correct the record.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
He was talking to promoters and stuff, man.
Like literally. Yeah, legitimately. Yeah. Black Yakuza 94, $5. I need Cody versus Sami as the King of the Ring finals. That would be really cool. The drama would be heat. Also, AJ is probably facing Cena at Saturday Night's Main Event, Georgia and all. That would be very neat. I'd like to see that. Yeah, I'd like to see both of these things.
And they're both good ideas. I do have concerns about AJ and Cena at this point, but
Joe, it won't be anywhere remotely near their old work. And that's mainly due to John, who, I mean, you know. Yeah.
It's a good idea, though. I like both ideas.
John has simple matches now. Do you think he'd fare better or worse if he tried to do the PW Gina stuff?
He would infinitely worse, dude. He can't
really?
do it.
So you think if he tried to do Code Reds again and like Springboard Stunners, like it would make his
I'm not saying to be I just genuinely don't think he physically can do it. Like I honestly think we underestimate how beat up he is. I really believe that the more I watch him. Like when I watch him bump and I know I keep saying this, I apologize, but when he bumps and feeds for the babyface, I'm like, he looks in agony on every single bump, you know?
Joe, it's because he bumps like he's trying to like minimize the amount of pain he receives from the bump.
Yes. Yeah.
A guy that like has taken a lot of these and is really trying to just not hurt. That's not a great place to be in physically if you're doing pro wrestling.
Right. But I mean, they're both. I mean, there's obviously still some brilliance in there, and AJ is, I still think he's a great wrestling mind and has had some great matches with lesser than guys, even if less so in recent years. I mean, last year we had the Marufuji match, so. And again, it is Marufuji's a guy who's very declined, but he still is someone who's wrestling regularly. It's a very different. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But if it happens, I'll obviously tune in because those matches were remarkable.
Yeah.
In the 2010s.
I will say a wrestler who is definitely physically diminished but not completely gone and can still have very good matches is CM Punk. And you know what's the thing he's been doing lately, Joe? And I think it's just to pop himself now because he didn't want to do this at first. Now he's breaking out like a weird move in every match. And at Saturday Night's Main Event show, he did a Code Red, and it looked good. And it actually got the reaction that a crowd does when a celebrity wrestler does a move, basically. And they're like, "Whoa, he can do that!" Whatchamacallit? On last week's Raw, he did a Shining Wizard, which is just really funny. That didn't look as good. It didn't look bad, but it didn't look as good. Yeah.
Well, that rules.
Yeah. Go Birds for XTL 499. Hey guys, I just got engaged to the love of my life yesterday. Wanted to shout out Self-Made and WrestlePurists for being an awesome community. Well, Go Birds, congratulations, and I hope you have a happy and fruitful marriage. And thank you for the shout out. Self-Made is on fire, and we just got done watching the very first 01 pay-per-view, Truth Century Creation. And for those that don't know, 01 is a promotion that was launched by Shinya Hashimoto in 2001. And the very first show was main evented by Hashimoto teaming with New Japan's Yuji Nagata against Noah's Jun Akiyama and Mitsuharu Misawa. And that main event was unbelievably electrifying. 11,000 strong in Sumo Hall, Ryogoku. And every interaction was just beautiful. 19-minute match. Nothing but just great exchanges and aura and all that type of stuff. But if you were with us watching that, thank you for joining us. That was a great time. And thank you for everybody who supports Self-Made. And also thank you for everyone that supports WrestlePurists. What's up?
Dude, that is the most Meltzer thing you've ever done on a show.
What's up?
Like, brother told us he's engaged, and you like pivoted to a 0-1 review.
Oh, that's godly. Yeah, that's a beast. I'm a beast. That is a
that was incredible. I feel like Brian Alvarez then.
Because Brian after that would be like, so next, Liv Morgan was backstage with the Judgment Day, and Dave was legitimately just broken out into like CMLL reviews in the middle of Raw reviews.
Of course he does. That's what he does. He's a legend.
Brian will be like, and then Americano got the win over Penta Dave. They were like, in Arena Mexico. And he was just going his whole thing. And then, like, he didn't even review the match. And then Brian's like, we're back in the Judgment Day clubhouse. They're talking about AJ Styles here. And he's just giving his recap.
But nonetheless, big congrats. True.
Congrats, Go Birds. You should watch 01. Get your wife into it, Just watch Hashimoto. Ryan Cicchini, $6.99 Canadian. Who do you think benefited the most from Worlds Collide? Santos looked solid and probably opens the door for a program with Wagner on whichever show. Well, I don't know if this is a scoop or not, but Santos is scheduled to get a big push in AAA. And that's why, if you notice, he's noticeably gotten in much better shape. And it's also why he got Joe. He did this trios match where he had an extending closing stretch with Wagner where he's doing V-triggers and shit. And I was like, what's gotten into this guy? And it was just very clear. Like, there's like an enthusiasm and pep in his step. He was moving like a guy that just got told in the back, like by the office, like, we're going to really need you for this one, And so he's clearly elated to be a part of this thing. And I think he'll be a big beneficiary to to this partnership. Outside of him, looking at who was most over, you're looking at like Lola Vice and Stephanie Vaquer, who already were over. Maybe this speeds up Vice's call-up. But I have the AAA guy's hilarity of all the people is Mr. Iguana, who his shtick was very Orange Cassidy-ish. And Paul Levesque himself already mentioned his marketing upside with children on the media thingy. So, yeah, I think Iguana is going to get himself some NXT TV matches out of this and a bunch of new followers. And, Joe, I looked up a lot of the Twitters for like the AAA people on the show, and like a lot of them have like 500, 600 followers, which is like crazy, so good for a lot of those guys. I thought Octagon Jr. made a good account of himself in the opening tag. And beyond that, I think Psycho Clown was out of his element, to be honest with you.
He was? No
Yeah,
way.
I think he's a little bit out of his element. Pagano is trying to like do like, drop toe holds when like his game is like falling into like barbed wire spikes and shit. He did a dive where he ate complete shit on the floor. He looked like Homicide when Homicide would do that kind of flipping senton tope through the rope to the floor and like just eat shit. He did that like 2 times, which was frightening. And then followed up that with like 3 botched lucha moves, which was beautiful. That's another thing I liked about this show, Joe. The action wasn't state of the art. And that might sound insane, but like
wasn't too pretty.
No. Modern, really, really, really perfectly executed 6-man tags that are like 3.5 to 3.75 stars are very boring. When there's a little bit of jerkiness to the rhythm, and there's like a botched Rana, but there's a lot of hustle and a lot of enthusiasm, and they just kind of go. And when they blow a spot, they go right to the next spot, and there's just a lot of that. And they're attempting 5 things in a row, 3 of which look really nice. There's a lot of character in that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The opening 6-person tag, it felt like a trios match from like 2001. It's like not state of the art, but it's very good and well done. It's like you wouldn't see it in New Japan. New Japan's the work would be too pretty in a New Japan 6-person. But there's a lot of hustle and a lot of heart, and there's topes and shit. It's delicious. That's what I need in my life.
Good for you, bro.
Art wrestling is overrated, I think.
I think it has to be top tier or not on the scale at all, I think.
For me, so for me, right? This is weird. If it's a triple threat or a 4-way, it needs to be state of the art for me to care.
Yeah.
Because that's like a video game moves match where everyone's just kind of coming in and out to do shit. And so if they're doing it at like 3/4 speed, it's like whatever to me. That's different. That's why Ospreay is the peak of his genre. That's why him versus Takeshi at Revolution last year was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But for trios matches, it's different because that has a different rhythm and psychology and pacing to it. That can be fun and kind of jerky to me. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But that's how I feel about it.
Kind of, yeah. I get what you're saying. Speaking of Fatal 4-Ways,
yeah.
Do you know what rating on Cage Match the NXT Vengeance Day Fatal 4-Way main event has?
What was the Fatal 4-Way main event at
Bailey, Cora, Julia, Roxy.
Oh, that sucked. Yeah. I don't know. What did they give it? 6?
7.7.
Wow.
So
what did they?
I discovered this on the air, and like this fascinates. Dave gave this 4 stars.
Wow.
Did we watch what happened here? What was wrong with us?
I don't know, but it was very like didn't work for me, brother. Didn't work for me. Dave's gonna give that a higher rating than he's gonna give Lyra and Becky, which I listened to Observer Radio, and he was like, "Yeah, it was all right. It's pretty good." I was like, "What the fuck, Dave?"
Let me be clear, that had nothing to do with the conversation. I saw that and thought I need to like revisit that. I think I don't know. Confused me.
Insane. I don't know. Jay Stone, $4.99. Is saying Santos and the Garzas are underrated a hot take? If only they weren't stuck in Triple H's never-ending Latin warfare. If you were to say Santos Escobar is a great wrestler, I would say that's a hot take, personally. I think the Garzas are underrated. That's not a hot take. I think most people think. I mean, depends on like how you rate underratedness, but I think everyone agrees that they're very good. They actually are very good, and I like seeing them being used more. Santos is a guy who's really, really cool and cuts great promos. I mean, his wrestling is like kind of, it's kind of hit or miss for me personally. But he did look pretty good on the pay-per-view, and he seemed very motivated. He's one of those guys that clearly where like his enthusiasm going in will absolutely affect his work.
Yeah. I don't think people have strong enough opinions on the Garzas for them to be like extremely overrated or underrated. They just kind of like, they haven't been given a ton of TV time. Like recently they've got a bit more love, right? But
yeah, they got a lot of time now. Yeah.
Before this last couple months?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I think they're both really good. I don't love Escobar's work, but I agree he's really cool and
Very
looks
cool.
great in a suit. Looks very good in a suit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Riley Walker, $5. Randy would sell the Mist like he sold the Lexi all caps Fireball. Yeah, probably.
I have no memory of this, so I can't even get a frame of reference.
It's exactly what I said. Just go, fuck.
I got you. I have to YouTube it.
Yeah. Hush, $4.99. Chad is a monster. Third match tonight in 4 days. Quietly been the workhorse of the company. It's not quiet. Is he wrestling at Triple Mania for the main belt, or is Dom? I'll tell you this. I would expect him at Triple Mania, Regia. So there you go. And Dominic will absolutely get involved in this AAA business, which was to be expected. I don't know what the matchup is, though, because AAA was building their own completely different thing that got broken up. They're building, if I'm not mistaken, Latin Lover and Alberto Del Rio. So I don't know what happens.
Oh, shit. Did you see that match they announced today that was like the Gazas were in it and the Nemeths were in it? Psycho Clown was in it. It was like a fatal.
What the fuck?
Yeah, bro. It was like a.
What?
Yeah, it was a fate. I can't remember what it was. It was a fatal 4-way. And the Nemeths were in it.
So that's insane. You know what I will expect, though, Joe? Remember, like, so you know how wrestlers are belt marks, right?
Some, yeah.
So remember how like 2022 AEW, to appease the roster, they just used the belts from Ring of Honor, and so like there was a point in TV where like everybody had a fucking belt of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
I'd expect that with the WWF soon. Like you're gonna see like AAA tag titles just on the shoulders of guys in the back at SmackDown and shit.
I mean, if Escobar can get main roster money
and just work Triple
and just be a top guy in AAA, like, oh my god, dude,
why
he may become my hero.
So why do you think he's so happy right now?
Yeah, I might buy a poster or something.
Joe, could you just imagine them walking up to him? Hey, look, so we're gonna really push you back down in Tijuana. And he's like, what does that mean? It's like, we're gonna win their fucking mega, whatever the fuck the shit's called. Is my pay changing? No. I'm fucking in. You know what I mean?
Very interesting. I wonder if people are gonna start, who's I'm not gonna actually do that. No, I'm not gonna do that. But well, no, like the idea of like, some of the American mid carders being like, I wouldn't mind being a heel down there,
Yeah, because they're like, I'm sure some of them are looking around and they're like, speed. We're getting 20-minute matches in Mexico where I get to hold championships. You know what I mean? And get the same exact pay. You get the same exact pay.
The problem is there's not like fun names because they're all gone.
Like Baron Corbin going there would be funny.
Yeah.
I just so we'll see. All right, thank you, Hush. Jacob Donnelly, $5. Ibu, are you, as they called them, balding Disney adults? Oh, are the, as you called them, balding Disney adults at your job excited about R2 sticking around? I don't know because I've been off for 4 days. So I actually can't.
Definitely are, dude. Did you see the reaction they got?
Yeah. I'd like to think they are excited about it, Jacob, but I won't be able to report back until next week because I don't get back to work until tomorrow night.
We should actually we should stress that. That was an incredible pop, seriously.
Yeah, they went insane.
Did you see the video from in the arena?
No.
There was a video from the top of the arena, and people legitimately threw their arms up in the air. It was unbelievable, dude. What a pop. For Truth, again, the rest of it aside, I'm not going to pretend I'm super interested in Truth chasing John Cena because I'm not. I don't really care. But
no,
just on a human level, this has got to have been one of the coolest, most gratifying weeks for Truth, right? All of the boys love him. He got his job back immediately, and he got that reaction. He must feel so good about the 25 plus years. Good for him, man. Seriously, you think because when you get let go the way it seemed like he was going to get let go, you probably, you feel like you've been kicked to the side,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
we'll see how it goes. There was something here it was. Perk Shrina chat had me pop me. He said the secret Hervis running AAA. That would be really funny.
No comment.
Ryan Cicchini, $6.99 Canadian. This is third from Julia's comments on Rhea from before she joined WWE. Joshi fans don't realize that Rhea or Bianca would be stars in Japan. Yes, they absolutely would be. They'd be very over, and they'd be main eventing shows. But some of these fans can't fathom this, and I'll just leave it there before I potentially insult anybody.
Who was the really funny? Who did they book in Japan for a bit, bro? Was it Mandy Leone?
that
Do you
sounds
remember? Was it Mandy Leone?
that sounds accurate.
Fuck. Let me research this. Move on. Sorry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. Harv, £5. I'm looking to watch AEW again. I've not watched for the better part of 9 months. 9 months. That would have been, oh God, it would have been like September-ish. Can y'all briefly outline the major plot lines in the last 2 months or so? In the last 2 months. So that would have been.
So the main thing is that the Avengers of AEW
Have formed.
And Hangman is leading the way because he won the Owen.
Yes, he has.
So he's chasing
in an excellent pay-per-view main event.
Incredible match, by the way. Oh my god! I was on the review show. That match is probably my match of the year.
Wow,
that match was. I'd say that was a beautiful wrestling match. That was classic. So Hangman won the Owen, so he's the lead in the pack, chasing Moxley, but Ospreay is supporting his endeavor, and they're trying to get Swerve on board.
Yes, they are, and Swerve is very much pushing back at this point.
Yep.
And it's led to conflict between him and Will Ospreay, which is why they will be fighting this week on Dynamite on their 4-hour summer blockbuster special on the TBS Superstation.
Yes, indeed. Mercedes Moné has continued to belt collect. She did drop one belt, but then she got another one this past weekend.
She won the Owen.
She won the Owen, so you got the blockbuster matchup with Timeless Tony, who in the time you've not watching Tony has kind of, she hasn't transformed that beforehand, but she's certainly ascended as a star and has become, I think, one of the faces of the whole company.
Yep. Max has started to hurt people, Joe. He's in the Hurt Syndicate.
Yep.
That's going pretty swimmingly for him so far to this point. Bobby Lashley has finally given him the thumbs up. He's in the group. And they're kind of working their way through some of these baby faces. And the first viable collection of baby faces to challenge these guys appears to be Commander and Jet Speed, the tag team of Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey specifically has been doing very well on television, these very electric television matches. Ricochet continues to be an absolute menace for the entire babyface mid-card. John Moxley continues to reign supreme as the world champion. We still have not seen the belt. It is in a briefcase. We've had a couple women's returns like Sky Blue. And Thekla made her debut. She was a signing from Stardom. So things are chugging along pretty well, and the card is coming together nicely for All In. As we're kind of getting closer to that. Omega and Okada, it's set. It's official. They will be fighting for again, and it'll be for all the belts, Joe. It'll be for the Continental Championship and the AEW International Championship. So, generally speaking, AEW's product is in a very, very good place right now. The TV is very consistent and focused. And the best thing about the show, in my personal opinion, is that there's a really great collection of baby faces right now, and they're used very well. One of which that I didn't mention yet is Will Hobbs, who their follow-up to him challenging and losing against John Moxley at the start of the year has been really nice. He's probably been the best booked like babyface badass like big guy by Tony in a minute. So a really good collection of baby faces that have been anchoring the TV right now.
Yes, just to follow up, Mandy Leone did one tour.
Yeah.
It just so happened to be the 5-star Grand Prix in which she competed and amassed 8 points. In the 5-star Grand Prix in 2017. This eventually led to a title match with Tony Storm.
Because, of course. Van Jiminator, $5. Stoked for King of the Ring because this and the Owen this year will help TV like it did in 24. Fatal 4 is not ideal, but though usually find these qualifiers fun. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think tonight's 4-way with I believe it's Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, Dominic, and Sami Zayn. Oh, and Penta. I think that'll be a fun match. And Braun Breaker's great in multi-mans. And I think the dynamics there will be great. Sami's a great worker. Dominic's going to be chicken shit. Braun's just going to kill people. And Penta's going to say Cero Miedo. So that'll be fun. So we'll see. Amari, 316 V2, $5. Triple H thinking that listening to the fans or pivoting is weakness just screams insecurity, in my opinion. Well, sure, but he's also like, a 55-year-old white man.
And a wrestling booker.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a great combination. No. $4.99. Why have there been so many cash-ins immediately after winning the briefcase in recent years? Because Triple H does not like the Money in the Bank. as a trope, as a television trope.
Broken clock sometimes, things of that nature.
Absolutely. Danny Kwong, $5. Having Jeff Cobb wrestle in bouncer gear in his debut match and then losing to Jimmy Uso is criminal. Yeah. I'm sure he likes getting paid on time though now. Sway, $4.99. People advocate for Karrion Kross, but grifters saying be patient with Melo because he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. You got to plan for bullshit. Yeah, it's total horseshit. And anybody selling you that, you need to return it. It's WWE's pretty transparent about how they feel about most wrestlers, and you see it in the booking. There's no hidden secret guy that they like more than indicated so on television, if that makes any sense. There's no guys who are just kind of underneath prelim dudes where it's we actually really like him. Usually, if that's the case, there's some type of indication of such on the television. They don't lie. WWE and AEW, if nothing else, they're very transparent about how they feel about everyone on their roster. And if you want to know the answer on how they feel about any of these people, quite literally just monitor their booking.
And it doesn't mean that they think a guy's useless or without value. It means that they see them in the role they're being used in. Melo is a great example because they clearly get he has value.
Mm-hmm.
They have just thus far seen his value as a guy who loses good TV matches. That's what they've seen his value as. Now that may change, but I agree with you that it won't change as a result of some grand plan. It just an opening may emerge and he may get something that gets over. But yeah, I mean, I agree. You are what the booking says you are. Perception is reality, right?
Yeah, they're not sitting in a booking meeting when they write on the sheet that Aleister Black beats Carmelo Hayes in 10 minutes this week, right? They're not going, this will aid in the big plan where he wins the Money in the Bank. That doesn't happen.
Right. It's the same. I remember we had a hour debate about this on one of the Dynamite reviews a couple of years ago about Jay White. Remember when Jay White's usage was a knockdown, drag out debate on every show? And I remember just at some point just kind of throwing my hands at me look, man, that's how they're booking him. They've decided this is where he's going to be. That's the end of it, and again, that doesn't mean it can't change. Certainly it can. And I think as fans, going back to what we said earlier, if you're a Melo fan, I don't think you should be damn, I concede. You know what I'm saying? You should fight for your guy and cheer for your guy and want your guy to get more.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key word Sway used was grifters. I think, people that are allegedly in the know buying time for creative is just fucking lame. I mean, I'll always believe that,
Yeah, I'm not into the whole they like him. Be patient, and it's all right, my guy.
What does that achieve, dude?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what it achieves is tempering the flames that are.
I know it achieves for them. What does it achieve for the guys, the scoops? They're saying it. It's
I don't know. I really don't.
Right? Exactly. You're playing defense with Bruce Pritchard, dude. What are we doing?
Tell him we like him and we'll push him, and it's all right, man. Ish $4.99. Any updates on Ilya asking for a friend? Ilya is still rehabbing. He is not medically cleared yet. But a surprising name has been medically cleared recently, Joe.
Hogan?
No, and he probably will be medically cleared. I don't know why I thought about that. But
he thought about that and was maybe Saturday night's main event.
But another name has been medically cleared recently. And I think you'll see this individual relatively soon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it someone you maybe could still on Evolution?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you, Ish. Sway, $1.99. Can people complain enough to get Melo better booking? Maybe.
Does feel it's dangerous though, because if you don't hit the top tier of complaints, it feels like it will get to a level where they book him worse out of spite. The Dakota collab.
Where Hunter just teased it in passing. I was like, oh, fuck off, man. Yeah.
Remember when Kota had that Twitch stream?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Michael Cole went full old school Vince era, shit on this. And he's just Dakota was complaining on her Twitch stream, playing her video games about her usage. I think in WWE, everyone gets a fair opportunity, and it's up to you to make the most of this opportunity. And they're saying this as Dakota just eats like a fucking finisher, and you're like, all right.
That quietly has made a return as of late.
The old school spiteful office kind of,
the commentary. There's a couple of examples we talked about, yeah.
There's he likes to use he'll use Cole or Wade Barrett or there was a weird one where I think it was Corey Graves, Joe. It went super subtle. You know, did you hear what he did to Jordan?
Yeah, that was weird. Really weird.
He was just kind of like, I don't know about her, you know. And it's like, what the fuck?
Who? She's definitely like a coach, right?
Man, it just, I don't know, man. Jan Theodore, $2 Canadian. They're using the stretch provision on Big Rome. That is an NBA deep cut.
That's excellent. Yeah.
That is amazing. Who knows? We shall see. If Roman doesn't come back tonight, that's nasty, but we'll see. Natalie H, £2. 4 Meltzers. Oh, 4 Meltzers, 1 Mark. Ebu. I guess. Natalie's been very mean to me today. I can't tell if it's a rib or she just really hates me, but nevertheless, it's kind of it's mildly amusing.
Yeah.
She tweeted hashtag we don't want Ebu. And I was like, oh, fair. Rick of the Line, $1.99. The 0-1 debut show was gas, self-made forever. Rick, thank you so much for being there. It was a great, great time. Kazunari Murakami is an absolute demon and a madman and one of the most terrifying people I've ever seen.
By the way, speaking of heat,
yeah.
Last night, like Monty asked me if Anna was on the show, and I said no. And I said, hopefully she's back next week. And someone in the chat was like, you said that last week. And I legitimately felt like I was being like yelled at by the crowd. You know, I feel like I was at a press conference. And what made it funnier was I literally found out because you just texted me like, Anna's not there tomorrow. That was my extent in the process.
I'll say this now for the audience, guys. If she's not on the show, it's literally only because she literally cannot be here because she has other personal obligations in her very real life. There's no other thing. There's never a situation where I'm like, you know, Joe, I think I'm gonna freeze out Anna this week. And you're like,
I do that, but Eva never does that.
Right. I don't do it. She quite literally, folks, is trying to get her degree in college. So wish her the best of luck in that, and hopefully she aces all her exams and things that she can take care of.
Hopefully she's not mad. Like when I send those WCW graphics and just go 2-man show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Brian says she's gonna cost Jay tonight. Well, maybe.
Who, Anna?
Yeah.
Damn.
We'll see. Slinging Bread, $1.99. When are we watching Crusher Joe, Boo Boo? Oh my God, you actually remembered. You know what, Slinging Bread? You know what? If Dynamite sucks this week, I'll do it on Wednesday. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Slinging Bread. Jan Theodore, $2 Canadian. So Rocky was going to relinquish the WWE title to us. Who knows what Rocky was thinking? He thinks a lot of things. Natalie H, £2. Why doesn't Cody invoke the rematch clause? Dramatic as fuck. The Levesque regime got rid of that. They don't do rematch clauses anymore.
Have they never done it once?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Hunter doesn't like the trope. Yeah. Hush 199. Mr. Ebu, please, a long analysis on Mr. Iguana. I don't have one for you, but basically it's just a comedy gimmick and one that kind of appeals to the crowd because of how interactive it is. And it functions pretty similarly to Orange Cassidy. And the truth about it is he's quietly a bit of a good wrestler. To pull off that kind of gimmick similar to Orange Cassidy, you have to actually be like pretty smart about wrestling psychology and also just be pretty good at your job. There's certain comedy gimmicks where you actually have to be skilled at like what you're doing to pull it off. And Iguana is a pretty skilled pro wrestler. It's very clear just by watching him. The gimmick is very Chikara. And I do think there's some legs to it working out because it's a cute gimmick. And again, he's actually like a legitimately like solid pro wrestler. So good for
Chat's lighting you up right now, bro.
Really? Why?
Just copious examples. Just overwhelming evidence of rematches, bro. It's embarrassing.
No.
It's embarrassing right now, man. I feel uncomfortable. Do something quick.
Let me read this because I fucking bet you these little shits are wrong. I bet you these little shits are wrong. Guys, if people get matches, it's just because the kayfabe authority figure booked it. There's no longer a kayfabe legitimate rematch clause for these people. There's a difference, Joe. Like
I'm scared.
Adam Pearce going, we're gonna get a rematch tonight because there's a fuck finish is not the same as the wrestler going, I invoke my rematch clause. That has not happened.
Right, but to be fair to the logic that Natalie was asking with, it feels like Cody would have pretty good grounds for a rematch, right?
Exactly.
You know, Fiend and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I think he's going to try to do it the hard way, Joe, and enter the of the ring.
Excellent.
Black Yakuza, $10. Whoa, I got a Fightful notification that says the headline is this is a story I'll probably regret writing. I'm scared. So we'll find out what that is.
It's going to be about this show.
Can you imagine?
Anna's been kicked off WrestlePurists Worldwide.
You imagine Sean is just like, I'll say it. Fuck Paul Levesque. You're like, what?
I'll subscribe.
It's like, well, hell yeah, Sean. I have, without even clicking it, I feel like someone in WWF has said something very rude to him, and he said, "Fuck you guys, I got something for y'all," but I have no idea, and I'll find out.
No idea. Hopefully, Sean's okay. It sounds kind of scary, to be honest.
It does. It sounds very terrifying.
Hopefully, he's good.
Joe, can you read this one so I can just skim it real quick?
Yes, I can. Blakey Hughes who says Roman profile picture stands having a mental breakdown. The product isn't about him anymore. It is kind of jarring how disconnected from everything he is after the last 5 years. It is interesting how distant he feels, right? How sort of vacant. His presence used to loom over things. When he was the champion, most certainly, even when he missed a lot of time. Apparently the report is not anything, nonetheless,
all right.
As champion, his presence kind of loomed over things. He certainly feels a lot less kind of present nowadays, even when he's not on the shows themselves. He's just kind of in the distance.
Yeah, we'll see what comes with Roman Reigns' future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That story wasn't as fun as you hoped, huh?
No.
Sad.
Natalie H, 5 pounds. I only tweeted that because people were saying we want Anna, we want AO. Thank you, WrestlePurists crew. Shout out to Selfmade. Thank you,
Natalie. The worst ever #campaign was when Evie was off the shows, and I did 18 shows a week, and every single one of them earned "We want Evie" replies. Like I was
preventing this.
like I was stealing your bookings.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
That was terrible, but thank you, Natalie. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Natalie. Hush, 109. Mr. Ibu, please, along and out. Didn't we just do this?
Yeah. Jesus, bro. Take it easy, man.
I was like, how many fucking...
He's in Gorilla, bro. He's got a lot of shit going on, man. Chill.
God damn. Jan Theodore, $2 Canadian. Has WWE given the seal of authenticity to WrestlePurists Worldwide? No, but people in WWE have watched WrestlePurists Worldwide before.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Gets a pizza in.
Yeah. Ish 499. Did WWE have any convos about Metro Boone doing things for WWE? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, because that shit's beyond even the wrestling people in it.
Yeah, I usually talk to Bruce and he's not clued in on it. That's a Nick Khan thing.
Imagine Bruce was clued in.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Future and Metro for the Hall thing. You can report that on your little podcast, Ebu. Give me Backshot, Salamonster, $2. Better feature feud, Javon and Dom or Mike Santana, Oba. I'm leaning Javon and Dom.
Yeah, more natural dynamic in it.
Right.
More natural dynamic, I think. Santana and Oba is a cool poster, and it'll be a physical match, but
and the head-to-head promo will be fun.
It's just Oba will generally have better. He'll have his best matches with guys like Javon. Ironically,
Yep.
Mike's a big fella now, bro.
Big boy. He's been hitting the weights, Joe.
Proud of him.
Absolutely. He's a loud and proud Boricua from the Bronx, New York, as he says.
He's awesome.
One and only, 199. Are we ever getting that Jacob Roman match? Roman still wants to do it. So.
It's an interesting question, though, right after Jacob turned babyface. It's a very interesting question.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know if Roman's ever going to be a heel again. So,
I think they were trying to delay Jacob's face turn, but I think it's kind of undeniable at this point. So now, how does one factor into that? So it's going to be interesting.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Scoops on the Grand Slam Mexico card. I'm hyped for it. People keep asking me this. And guys, I'm not privy to the Grand Slam Mexico card because it hasn't been made yet. So when I have an update on Grand Slam Mexico, I'll give you guys a Grand Slam Mexico card. The only thing I had for you guys on it was that MJF was going to have a big match, and that's been pretty much made official. So there you go. Do you know the plans for Io and Bayley? I know Io has a title defense against Liv scheduled. I don't know what show that's going to be on because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know what the WWE schedule is right now at the top of my head. So like I don't know if Saturday night's main event is before the Saudi show or not. I'm not really sure.
It's the next show is the King Queen ring in Saudi. Then you have Saturday night's main event,
Then Evolution,
and then Evolution on that same weekend. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'd imagine it's gonna be on one of those shows. That's her next title defense. Could they do an exhibition with her and Stephanie at like Evolution? I could see it. Because I don't think Liv EO is the Evolution match personally. I do not think that. There's gonna be an EO Liv interaction tonight, but beyond that, Bailey's gonna be coming after Becky Lynch, and I'd expect that much sooner rather than later. Much sooner rather than later.
I know we talked about it last night, but that Evolution card really is interesting to me. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know what's going to like at all. You know, it's interesting.
Absolutely. Luis Sosedo, $2. Do you think WWE AAA will be poaching CMLL guys? Yes.
Just stop at poaching.
Natalie H, $2. What you say about the King of being cooked, Ibu? Yeah, he's fucked. His knee is cooked, and he also strikes me as someone who has not taken the time to properly rehab it either. So you just have all these matches where like he tweaks it and limps and goes like, fuck, and then like you're like, oh, you're gonna like go rehab that and get a surgery. And he's like, no, I'll just shake it off and wrestle in like 2 weeks. And it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, he's absolutely not the wrestler that he was 3 years ago. In fact, outside of Chad Gable, that he's been actively just kind of like mediocre in recent months. So that's just kind of is what it is. But I mean, in spite of this, he had a great match with Chad Gable.
So like you might be right, but it's got to be said, Natalie's kind of lining you up tonight, bro. Being real.
Yeah, she's like it's like body shots, you know.
If you were like a judge with is this boxing, you need a knockout at this point, right? Like you're down. You've lost every round, I think. The title rematch thing was embarrassing. I think Monty should delete the video.
What happened?
You know when you did the title rematch thing, all-out rematch, immediate rematch.
Oh yeah.
That was embarrassing, bro. We're gonna clip that out.
He's gonna enter King of the Ring. Oh, brother, Cody's a mark. I think Cody's just a proud American.
Proud American.
And a man.
There's nothing more patriotic than winning the King of the Ring.
I agree. In Saudi Arabia.
The king's crown is a very American thing, famously. You're right.
Right. Who do you consider the best luchador on earth? He's not quite as good as he was before he was gone, but I'd still lean towards Bandito personally. That's my choice.
Do you know what was surprising?
How
clunky the Bandito Hechicero stuff was on Collision. Did you see that?
Yeah, it didn't. It was weird.
It was weird, wasn't it? I was looking at that matchup going, wow, that would be like.
You know what it is? I think that was Tony kind of like not thinking deeply about what he's booking because Bandito's never a Yave guy.
Yeah, you're right. It's just
Bandito's
they're such awesome wrestlers, you know.
Bandito's a Western style pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He doesn't
power moves.
Yeah, power moves and crowd work. It's not his bag. Any plans for 3G with WWE this year? Well, they wanted to sign him and they wanted to take his mask off, and he said "fuck you" and went to AAA. Are there any plans for him? My cynical read on him being in a trios match was them trying to humble him personally, but that's just me. I'd expect him probably to get some appearances on NXT and shit like that.
All right, that's every super chat, bro.
Awesome. All right, well,
full show super chats.
That's fucking awesome. That's beast. So then, I guess I'll just wrap up saying this, folks. I only thought 2 matches on Money in the Bank were particularly good, but those 2 matches I thought were like pretty great, and so I ended up like liking the show. I loved the Becky Lynch match with Lyra Valkyria, and I just think Becky's instincts and her feel for wrestling are great, and they're so classical and old school, and I love the construction of that program, and I'm really proud of Lyra Valkyria. So I had a great time with that, and I also thought action-wise, the action in the men's Money in the Bank was the strongest in a couple of years, because I don't really like modern ladder matches much at all. And usually like just too much construction or the big moves don't hit, but for whatever reason it just kind of came together for me really well. And obviously it got taken down a little bit by the interferences and stuff, but even like Braun Breaker like wrecking havoc wasn't an issue for me. It was really when the thing came to a complete halt for the Jacob angle, which took a little too long to execute. But in spite of all of this, I thought the match was really enjoyable, and I thought it was a strong outing there, and probably the best male Money in the Bank since the 2021 one, that Big E one. That, if you remember, Ricochet went crazy, and so, so that was a pretty good show. Even though, again, 5 matches and the show was like 9 hours. Whatever.
Can you give us your complete star ratings?
Are people asking for them?
I am.
Okay. I did a star rating reveal.
Let's go back and forth. Let's do star ratings to close this show.
Oh, this is scary. But I got to do the post collide one afterwards. Actually,
Okay, we got a super chat here. Go for it.
Go for it. Okay, yeah, we'll do it at the end.
Yeah.
Beckles $4.99. So did Tony forget Hechicero's teaming with DCF in Mexico? Maybe he has.
Damn.
Guys, by the way, before we get out of here, please like the video. Like the fucking video, please.
We're doing star ratings, guys. Come on, it don't get any more exciting than that.
Exactly.
Opening the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, go for it. You lead the way, bro.
All right, so I gave the women's Money in the Bank 2.25 stars. I thought the interactions, like the aura and the posing and like the stare down, I like that part. I thought that Rhea Ripley came off like a superstar, and so did Stephanie. I thought there was a little bit too much labored construction of the spots.
It was long, wasn't it? It was a long one.
Yeah. The match itself just felt too long, but I didn't hate it, even though I gave it 2.25. I didn't hate it. And I like how Alexa Bliss is being featured now.
Yeah.
So that's my rating on that one.
Yeah, I spoke this last night, so I don't need to repeat my review, but I'm higher on it than you. And a lot of people in our circle. I'm also a pussy when it comes to ladder matches, so I kind of liked it. It was like kind of cowardly. 3 stars. Right.
Good for you, man.
Cheers, bro.
So I Octagon Junior Dominic was the type of undercard sprint that I'd like to see more of on pay-per-views, but this one felt like one of those things where it's like purely to get like one guy a win and nothing for the other guy. And like I don't know what Octagon really got out of this, truthfully, because this is like just the type of match to get Dom a win. But nevertheless, it was just kind of a short thing that was totally inoffensive. So 2.25 on this one.
Flat 2 for me. Didn't really achieve anything. I actually rewatched this because I saw some people getting really excited about it, and I don't fully get it, but that's the beauty of wrestling, right? Flat 2.
I don't think there was anything wrong with the action, but it was also like too short to really be anything.
Yeah, it had no nothing, like there's no bite to it. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of
So Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, I thought this was excellent and the best match that took place on Saturday. A great middle chapter. It didn't have any of the like little issues that kind of bogged down the first match, and it stood in contrast to a lot of WWE pay-per-view wrestling where there were no cutscenes, there was no theatrics. It was just wrestling with tense intensity and animosity, and ultimately Becky Lynch eked out a win, and we had a great post-match angle. I'm giving this 4.25, Joe. I thought this was awesome.
I am too. This was a professional wrestling match, dude. Now the word bite would fit this, right? Scrappy, contentious, super intense from the first bell. And as you said, it trimmed a lot of the fat in terms of not getting too cute down the stretch like the first one did.
Yeah.
4.25 for me. This was a great wrestling match.
Yeah. And I already gave my thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank. I thought the actual action of it, and it was pretty fucking awesome. And the crowd was great. And Braun Breaker coming out and wrecking havoc. Like I had a good time with a lot of this, and the misdirections were pretty good. That Chad Gable spot where he like kind of slung shot into one ladder, got into the other one, and then got backdrop suplexed off of it was sick. A lot of really, really cool moves and bumps here. Andrade was an absolute madman with the sunset powerbomb and some of the other things happening in this. I enjoyed this quite a bit, and obviously like the cutscene thing kind of bogged it down a bit, but not enough to ruin this for me. I'd give this 4 stars.
Damn. Okay, you're a lot higher on this than me. I like a lot of the same things, but I thought I actually, on reflection, think the Jacob Solo thing was like borderline terrible. And it did come to a halt for me. So that hurt it. The best action was great. I will go 3.5 stars. Even with WrestlePurists.
There you go. Main event. This just didn't need to be like 26 minutes. I just don't understand the rationale behind like 10 minutes of heat on this thing. An absolute uninteresting bore for the majority of this match. And once things broke down into like dumb moves and stuff, like it was like moderately entertaining. And I just thought to myself, like, why can't this just be the whole match? Why can't this just be 13 minutes? They do their big stuff, the Acai moonsault, the table spots, the finishers, the fucking phone superplex thing, all that. You could have just do 13 minutes. We don't need this much heat, especially when the heat isn't interesting. You guys aren't Gunther, you know? So I will say the fireworks at the end were pretty decent, and the R-Truth run-in was cool. So I'm going to give this 2.5.
I didn't like this match very much at all. I do agree the latter fireworks were good. Cody, I thought, was quite good in the match. Logan's moonsault is unquestionably very impressive. But I just found this to be deeply uninteresting. Give me 1 3/4 on the main event of Money in the Bank. And I have to say, that felt very dangerous what we did there. We just fucking brought the spreadsheet to YouTube, bro.
I feel alive.
When you get your license, folks don't know this, when you get your wrestling podcast license, you like have to sign off. You will never do that. We may be banned tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like keeping your it's like when you don't like reveal who you voted for. You know, it's like that kind of.
Which we would never do.
Right. I'll quickly do Worlds Collide. So opener, it was LWO and Lince Dorado versus Octagon Jr., Mr. Iguana, and God, who was the third man on that match? It was Mr. Iguana, Octagon Jr., and was it Aerostar? I believe it was Aerostar. Yeah, so this was a lot of fun. Just kind of like a really energetic, enthusiastic, fun, slightly jerky moves tag that wasn't quite state of the art, but it was just very enthusiastic and triumphant in a weird way. I like pretty much everything about this, even things like fucking, you know, Lince Dorado didn't catch Octagon Jr. on a dive, and like that made it feel like pro wrestling to me. I don't know why, just weird shit like that. That's something that gets like clipped and posted on Twitter like years later. You know, give him 3.5 to this. I had a good time with it. Women's tag, Chica Tormenta and Dalis versus Lola Vice and Stephanie Baker. The babyface team were the best wrestlers in this match, and they came off great. And their stuff looked good, and the other lady stuff didn't. But they kind of kept this short and brief and simple. It threatened to fall apart right before Vaquer's hot tag, but thankfully, right when Vaquer did the hot tag, this went to an end. They did the double butt spot thingy, which Conan was very much an enjoyment of, and so did the crowd. Yeah, this is okay. I'd give this like 1 3/4. The next match was Legado del Fantasma versus Pagano, Psycho Clown, and Elio Dr. Wagner Jr. The AAA team outside of Wagner, they weren't. This wasn't their what's the word I want to use here? This wasn't their comfort zone, so to speak, Joe. But they did all work hard, and Pagano ate shit twice on dives, and they did a bunch of stuff at the end of this match in terms of dives and crazy dangerous moves. And there was an element of danger to this, and with guys diving in between the fucking ring and the steel guardrails and shit like that, which I got a kick out of. Anyway, I did like this, even though it wasn't as good as the first match. 3.25 for this one. Your semi-main was a 4-way moves match, Joe. This was Laredo Kid and Javon Evans and Ethan Page and Ray Phoenix. And they had a good multi-man moves match. That's what I would call this. A good multi-man moves match. Javon Evans' stuff popped. Phoenix had flashes of the old Phoenix at points in this match. Laredo Kid did his best. And Ethan Page was here to be a miscreant and a heel and a nuisance. And that's what he did. He broke up the fun action. While chipping in here and there, it kind of showing that he could do some lucha too. So I thought this was good. This was a good wrestling match. 3.5 stars for this one, Joe Holberg. Dave is probably going to go an entire star higher on me on Friday. And good for him, and I support him on that. Main event, Chad Gable, Elio Del Vikingo. They did Yave to start this thing, Joe, and it was actually pretty good. And then after that, there was kind of a jerky rhythm, which honestly accompanies the majority of the Kingo matches, even when he was like really, really, really on point, truthfully. But the second half of the show was backloaded with a lot of really, really, really unhinged big moves. Like I'm talking apron Canadian destroyers. I'm talking moonsaults through tables. I'm talking 630s to the outside. I'm talking sit out pile drivers off the top rope, like insane ideas. And so there was enough of that, and it came together well enough that I thought this actually was a great match. I'd give this 4 stars, and I'm really happy for Chad Gable, who had a great performance in this main event.
So that bit backfired on me immensely because you and I only had a brief conversation about Vikingo and Gable.
Yeah.
And I got like a sneaky suspicion you didn't actually like it.
No.
You didn't say that to me.
Yeah.
That's why I inferred. So as a result of that, I launched a 13-minute star rating segment. So eventually.
Oh, you were waiting for me to go like
3.5.
I'll tell you this. I
just completely misread you and just wasted 15 minutes of my life.
Well, here's the thing about it though, Joe. When I revealed the star rating to people publicly, and everyone was just kind of like, "What the fuck, man?" That made it was 5 stars.
You gave it 4 stars, bro. You love the match. What?
No. People thought I hated it. Yeah, I gave it 4, and people were like, "Dude, that's like a 5, man. Come on, dude."
The 2 highlights of that segment were,
Yeah,
it wasn't bad, 1 3/4, and then when you hit that match in the middle with, they worked hard, bro. That's when you know a review man is fighting. You know, they worked hard, give it their best.
No, we said work hard is keyword for trash.
That reminded me of, like, I used to listen to Grapple a lot. I love the guys at Grapple, you know. I
Yeah,
haven't listened to a while because I don't listen to any wrestling stuff now, but
yeah.
they would do that. Like, they would just say their star rating in conversation. It scared me.
Yeah, you know, that's not the natural thing. But yeah, man, that's pretty good. It's like a 3 1/4. Yeah.
Like, and I get why they did it, because they would. The whole point of the Grapple thing was an app, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Star rating app. But because I'm a coward, when they would do it, I'd like duck in fear because I couldn't imagine doing it. But, you know, we just did it, bro. We just did it on the air here. So hopefully everyone had turned off and watched Raw by that point.
Many people did, and
Yeah,
I'll probably do the same too. So we're at the end of this show, folks, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a good time, and I thought this was actually a pretty good podcast. So for Joe, I am Ibu of WrestlePurists, and I will see you guys tomorrow, where I will review this episode of Monday Night Raw, which should be eventful and very fun. Hopefully, we'll see if we have a new world champion, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Guys, please like the video if you haven't, and subscribe to WrestlePurist, and leave a comment, hopefully a nice one. You know, don't hurt my feelings. I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.